Welcome to our channel. Join us on this journey into the depths of the soul, because this path is the path of all of us. Today I will tell you about Steve Noakes' experience. At age 4, Steve gets into a car accident and has a near-death experience. He remembers some of what he experienced, but cannot remember most of it. After a second accident in his 30s, all his memories came back. In these memories, it is seen that he was given some kind of training on energies, healing, awakening, and elevation of consciousness and soul. In addition, visitors who Steve calls interdimensional beings, who say that they help people awaken by remembering everything that happened, continue to come and train him. Steve's experience begins like this. He was 4 years old, playing on the sidewalk with his bike. At that moment, his brother called him from across the road and told him to come. They were going to the shopping mall. Going to the mall was like going to Disneyland for him. He immediately moved on his bike to cross the street. As soon as he passed between two parked cars and got onto the road, another car came and hit him and crushed him. The bike's wheel was tucked into the car's rear tire, essentially protecting it from being crushed under the car. Suddenly, everything went dark. Then it became bright again. At that moment, he saw his own body. His eyes rolled back. Then came darkness again, and then light. There was someone next to him. He turned and looked at him. There was pure light where his face should be, and when he looked, he was drawn in. There were others like him, with him. He spoke to them without words, through thought. The entity said, "Steve, you had an accident. Everything will be okay." When he was drawn towards that light on his face, he saw another world. There were so many beautiful colors, and it was all like breathing. Everything was alive. There were children and adults. He could feel their happiness, hear their voices and laughter. There was no pain, no hatred, no anger, no misery there. There was peace and tranquility. He wanted to go there. At that age, he could not name the place he saw, but now he calls it heaven. The being next to him told him that he still had things to do and that he couldn't go there yet. Then she told him, "Steve, keep your head down. Everything will be okay." And so he did. The first memory he remembered after that was being good and playing with his toys. They had talked to that being about other things, but no matter how hard Steve tried, he couldn't remember those conversations for many years. Steve grew up with his mother in a divorced family. He had a very troubled, neglected, and lonely life. Like the days when he woke up in the middle of the night, there was no one at home because his mother had gone to the bar, and he tried to set out on his own and go to the neighbors. Abandonment, trying to cope with physical and mental pain, addictions. He describes himself as just a shell in human form. He was in his early 30s. He was driving. At that age, he was quite reckless and drove very fast. He turned a corner and the car started to skid. He couldn't control it. First he hit a telephone pole, then rolled over 4 to 5 times and was taken into surgery. He woke up suddenly during the surgery. It looked like he was having a very severe panic attack or anxiety attack. However, he had never experienced anything like this in his life. He was shaking with fear and was trying to get up and leave. Then suddenly, his whole body was surrounded by a wave of love. All his fear passed, and peace came. A voice said to him, "Steve, you had an accident. Everything will be okay." It was the same words spoken during his accident when he was 4 years old, and suddenly Steve recognized the voice. This was the voice of the being that was with him in his first experience, talking to him. All the memories he couldn't remember came back. It was as if they had uploaded all this information in that first experience, and only now had it emerged and become accessible. In that experience, while Steve wanted to go to a place that seemed like heaven, the beings next to him took him to another area, saying, "We have more to show you." They showed that everything, living and non-living, is composed of energy. He was looking at an architectural plan, seeing both the matter and the energy that made it up at the same time. They said that all of us, all living beings, are in a quantum field. Then they pulled him into some kind of healing space. This area was like a treatment center. They said that when we enter this body, we are made of pure love energy, and as we go through life, We constantly consume this energy. They explained that only when we can reach this field of love will we be recharged and healed. Every emotion and thought was turning into energy. The negative emotions we were exposed to for a long time were embedded in our body, settled in our nervous system, and became our reality. Our world was now shaped accordingly, and our diseases were caused by these energies. They explained that we create our reality with our thoughts and that we can change it ourselves. It was said that in order to progress, humanity must wake up as soon as possible, realize its divine creation, realize that it is an image of God, and realize its strong bond with God. It has been said that everything is created in the heart, that what is in our heart will create our world and our reality. They said that people have a limited time to continue to exist in the world and that during this time they should raise their spirits, increase their energy of love and compassion, and act in unity and solidarity instead of war and division. He was also told that there are beings living in other worlds which we can call lower level, consisting only of energy, and that these beings feed on people's energy in order to survive, and that is why they try to prevent the rise of humans. These beings, consisting of low-frequency energy, could reach people when their frequency was low and use their energy. Although Steve was very impressed, he was not convinced of the reality of what he saw. On the other hand, he did not go to school properly, did not receive religious education, and had never gone to church in his life. He had no knowledge about quantum and energies. The things he saw in his experience could not have come from his own brain. He didn't know what to do with this information anyway. After he recovered, he returned to his job as a store manager. But after a while, Steve's whole life changed. He was foreseeing some events that would happen soon, and a few minutes later, the event was happening as he saw it. He began to see beings and hear voices around him. Some of these beings were dark, some were light. They were talking to him. And when this happened, he felt pressure on the side of his head, but he failed to cut off this communication. He was so scared he couldn't sleep for days. Moreover, the way some beings spoke to him was not very nice. But then he realized that the words these beings used were like the words he used towards himself when he was growing up. He felt worthless back then. He even considered admission to a psychiatric hospital, but wanted to reconsider what had happened before. He finally realized that he was the one attracting all these beings. He was broadcasting to the quantum field with his negative thoughts about himself and his low frequency. Steve explains the quantum field as follows. Quantum field is a field that all living beings can access. Even though we see ourselves as separate individuals from others, we are connected to each other through this quantum field, and all our emotions and thoughts reach this field. It also becomes accessible to other entities. As soon as he realized this, he started working on himself. He forgave his past, his mother, his family, all people, and most importantly, himself. With the positive energy produced by positive emotions and thoughts, he tried to create a new reality for himself in the quantum field. One day, an old woman fell to the ground in front of the store where he worked. Steve ran over to her and patted her on the back. The woman looked at him with surprise and said that she felt warm and that it didn't hurt anymore. That's when Steve first realized he had the ability to heal. That day, he was excited like a child and couldn't sleep. He started visiting churches to understand what was happening, trying to find an answer, but couldn't find what he was looking for. Then he realized that he was looking for God outside and gave up. God was inside him, not outside. Meanwhile, some beings began to appear to him. Steve calls these interdimensional beings. A group of these beings appeared to him, saying that they were part of the Divine Council of Nine and that they were helping humanity's evolution of consciousness. For this purpose, they created a kind of network of people like himself, and that he also had a role in this network. Steve had never heard of concepts such as Galactic Federation or Divine Council. He asked them to go away and leave him alone, but then he started researching these issues. They came back about 3-4 weeks after the incident and told him that he was an incompatible but divine instrument and that they would guide him to harmonize, that is, to match his thoughts with his emotions and his emotions with his actions. They taught how to talk to negative energies and drive them away. They explained that if the mind, heart, and body are in complete unity, the energy circuit will be completed and healing will begin. Another group of beings explained that he is an energy that uses the human body and this character, but that he is not just this character. Another group of beings demonstrated how negative charges cause a kind of short circuit in our energy bodies, causing the divine flow to be interrupted. They said that the energy is produced from our chest. He began to be trained in healing. He had to be healed first, and beings visited him periodically. He could no longer do his job at the store. While he was trying to stay away from negative emotions and thoughts, the environment there was not suitable for him. So he found a job at an elderly care home and started working there. It was also the right place to apply the healing techniques he learned. Today, Steve works as a healer, healing people with the methods he has learned on issues such as physical and mental illnesses and getting rid of negative entities that haunt people. Steve says, "We are beings made up of love energy within the human body, and we can take back this energy that we spent, reduced, or destroyed while we were alive, and get closer to the state we were in when we first came to this world. This is called ascension, the salvation of the soul. Our thoughts about others turn into energy, and our energy can reach far, regardless of distance, and affect the energy of others. We are all the same. Because we are not these bodies, we are the energies that control the bodies. We are fed by a field that all living beings can access, which we can call the quantum field. We are responsible for our emotions and thoughts, because our emotions and thoughts produce energy. This energy, which emerges as negative or positive energy, reaches the quantum field. Our creation and life are sacred. Every living being is a part of God. We all belong to the same source, God, and are interconnected. So how we treat other people and living things is actually how we treat ourselves. The Creator is always with us, but you must demand it with your heart and free will so you can integrate with it. There is a spiritual war between those who want to keep our energy down and those who want to raise it. You can also call it angel and demon, and people can be angels and demons too. You determine which side to choose with the energy you produce. If you do not hold on to any negative emotions and remember that all that has happened, pain, fears, worthlessness, traumas, are not your identity. Your true identity is the energy of love created in the image of God. Your higher self, your frequency will increase. Otherwise, your frequency will decrease and inferior beings will take advantage of you. Examine your thoughts and feelings. Find out what you can't let go of and work on that. You constantly create negative thoughts because of emotions such as fear, anxiety, stress, sadness, depression, shame, guilt that you do not accept and fight with. And after a while, these become your cage. Opening your heart to them and accepting them will heal you. Thus, these feelings that were once formed and never completed or accepted are completed and ended. Forgiveness is healing, not for the other party, but for you. Because the negative emotions you feel do not mean anything to the other party and will only harm you. But forgiveness heals you. Everyone has a hurt side. Talk to these negative experiences and feelings and say, "I send you love, forgiveness, and gratitude. But I no longer identify myself with you. I am already whole and the image of love in human form." Tell those negative energies that they are no longer welcome here. It may seem strange to talk this way, but certain words and the frequencies of those words activate what is written in our DNA. All the codes we need are written in our DNA. This way you can heal yourself, raise your consciousness, and hear your guides. There are so many negative events in the world. Constantly listening to disaster news accumulates in our nervous system and suppresses rational thought. We become more angry, more negative, and more fearful people. These emotions need to be released, otherwise, diseases will come. All people have the power to purify themselves from these emotions. Remember that you are loved. Remember that we only play roles in this world. This is not our true nature. Relax with nature, prayer, or meditation. Remember, your energy creates your reality. Realize that you are a sacred being and be careful what you receive as spiritual nourishment. Don't say you can't do this, you can't do that. Don't set limits for yourself. These create negative energy and you encounter obstacles and your work becomes difficult. Remember, we all feed and feed on that quantum field. If you see yourself as a victim, it is assumed that this is the role you want to play in this life, and this becomes your reality. You have experiences that match it, and you can't blame God for it, because you created it. Take some time every morning and be thankful. This state of contentment creates a very positive space. It charges you, creates a high frequency, and you start attracting positive things. Of course, you may get angry or be sad, but let that emotion flow quickly. Don't hold on to them for days or weeks. Don't let thoughts like, "How did he do this to me?" or "How could this happen?" circulate in your brain for a long time. They will pull you down. What's done is done. Try to watch from a distance and get away from that feeling as soon as possible. We cannot learn the positive without the negative. There will be difficulties and problems. This is a school. We are not perfect. We are learning. Our only goal should be to leave here clean as we came, in the closest state we came to. We came as love. The best thing is to leave as love.